Yo, what is going on, guys? Rewinds here, and in this video, I'm gonna be bringing you guys my late review for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Manga chapter number 30. So, if you guys did peep my recent two videos, I did mention that I was gonna do some catch up on these reviews that I hadn't gotten to in the previous months. So that's pretty much what I'm doing, starting off with chapter 30, and then you guys should be getting a review for chapters 31 and 32 as well at some point, just so I can provide my thoughts on those individual chapters. And probably sometime in the near future after that. I'm not sure if it's going to be after this month's chapter or before it, because it does feel like we're nearing the end of the whole Mamushi invasion arc that we got going on. I will be doing a review of the arc, but I'm going to decide probably within the coming days if I want to put that out before chapter 34 or if I want to put that out after that. So it'll be one of those two, but definitely an arc review is coming sometime soon. But for those of you that were interested to check out my thoughts on this chapter, thank you. I do know this is very, very old of a chapter now, especially to be posting a review on, but I definitely wanted to do it. So here we are. This chapter was titled All Them Nuisances, and we have 4 Mamushi on the cover. And good cover. That's something, I give Ikimoto some credit for pretty much every month. Most of his covers, especially for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, are pretty damn nice, and I definitely got to give him flowers for that. So, the chapter kicked off with Himawari using the Tail Beast Bomb in the village, aiming at a Mamushi, but Shikadai ends up stopping her and possesses the Mamushi, and then has Chocho throw them in the air. So then Himawari diverts her attack and connects with the attack in the air, which ends up creating a big explosion. Shikadai is mad at her, and she ends up apologizing, but he says there's no taking back something like that, and that they won't always be around to help. So, just a big risk from Himawari in general, to be doing something like that. It's just reckless, and that could be having to do to her due to her inexperience, as well as her, just being, reckless in the situation and not realizing how much power she may really have per se. But she just didn't know better in this situation. Hopefully, she knows better for the future. We cut over to the scenes where we have Kobu doing interrogations, and Kobu is pretty much summoning Shikamaru now at this point of the story, and Sai then also reports that the village is under attack to Kobu. Kobu assesses it by asking the threat level, but ultimately ends up ignoring their warnings and proceeds on with the interrogation. Meanwhile, the Mamushi count has now exceeded 100. Sarada and Delta are reporting that Mamushi has been spotted, and Sarada says she's going in, but Shikamaru tells her to wait. Shikamaru says that they're switching tactics, and pretty much so far that damage has been limited mostly to property rather than civilians. Kobu is then directly summoning Shikamaru, who's trying to prioritize the village emergency, but Kobu doesn't care that he's stating that. So Kobu is pretty much saying that his will is basically the land's daimyo's will, and that defying those orders may lead to a bigger blow for the village. And then at that point, Boruto's reporting back to Shikamaru, saying he's clearing Sector D in the southwest and plans on rendezvousing with Team 10. Boruto then ends up getting sneak attacked by the Konoha police. One ends up grabbing his sword and starts to then feel weak. Boruto then escapes and pretty much tells that one that he's got skill, and he warns him to run away from a divine tree if he spots one, because it would be a shame to lose him. So that is some cool acknowledgement from Boruto there, saying that someone from the force is, pretty skilled, and he pretty much commended him for sneaking up on him. So cool stuff there, just a little scene. And realistic too, that Boruto would get targeted, so I like that that scene was included at some point in this, arc. Shikamaru has to then leave to talk to Kobu, so he tells Inojin to take over. Koji then tells Shikamaru to hide this toad with him, and it's pretty much Koji's toad that he usually uses. Koji then tells Inojin to release the mind formation, and that they got to get by this obstacle first with a different jutsu. And Shikamaru has then arrived to Kobu. Kobu says that he has suspicions of Shikamaru aiding Boruto. Inojin then uses the mind transfer jutsu on the Toad, which is then used on Kobu and knocks him out. So before that interrogation can really kick off and get into a high gear, this mind transfer might come in clutch, and that's pretty much what's going on. Kobu then gets up, and Inojin's taken over now, and he pretty much says dad to Sai, so that might have given that away to Sai. But Kobu then says that the interrogation has exhausted him and that he needs to go outside for some fresh air. Sai tries to accompany him, but he tells Sai to wait and tells him that it's an order. Koji then tells Inojin that they're killing Kobu. Meanwhile, Shikamaru tries to leave the room, but Sai immediately says, "What are you trying to make Inojin do?" He caught on quick, and he ends up saying he could tell by the eyes and asked Shikamaru what's going on, because Sai is pretty perceptive, and Sai has definitely caught on now to the situation, knows Inojin is involved and taken over Kobu, and he knows Shikamaru has some sort of doing in this, so this is making Sai pretty suspicious. Koji is then trying to convince Inojin to let Kobu die, suggesting a jump off to make it look like Mamushi attacked him. He also says that there will be no evidence since it's only him and Inojin talking. So Inojin calls him crazy and asks him pretty much if he's lost his mind. Because this is obviously pretty out there. You're just killing like a big figure, and you're killing someone who's not even like a real enemy per se, but Koji sees him as an obstacle, and Koji just wants to get rid of him. So that definitely goes against Inojin's principles, and it definitely wouldn't sit right with them, especially doing that, no one finds out. So Inojin is arguing back against that. Right then, though, Mamushi does come by, and he asks about Ada, and pretty much says, "Do you know where Ada is?" to Kobu, and charges at him to end off the chapter. So all in all, we had some decent progression in this chapter. There was a good mix of characters that did get their own little screen time. However, I don't feel like the chapter really had that much content per se compared to some other chapters that we've gotten in this arc. Like, I do feel like the arc really kicked off a lot more hotter than what some of these chapters did get to. And maybe it's because this stuff with Kobu is a little bit more slower, but it is a cool side to see. A little bit more of the political side, because it's realistic to get that in a story like this. So I think the stuff with Kobu is cool, but it's not like my favorite stuff we're getting in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex per se. But I do like that they are, addressing this side of stuff, and the way they handled it step by step with the mind transfer jutsu was cool. Inojin has been very relevant this arc, and I think that in chapter 30, again, that shows you yet again how involved he is. And Kobu pretty much is a big hindrance, because he's preventing Shikamaru from really getting through on this plan and being able to take out, Mamushi, or lead, or pretty much prevent Shikamaru from having that solidified plan to take out Mamushi. So I can see why Koji wants to take him out, but of course that goes against the code, especially of a shinobi, to want to just do something like that and kind of hide behind that fact and just say, "Oh, this guy committed suicide," or "Oh, Mamushi took him out." So I'm not going to really sit here and make predictions, because I already know what happens next. But all in all, I did think that this was a good chapter. It definitely wasn't one of my favorite chapters of the arc, but it's a pretty solid chapter, somewhere between that good to very good range for me. Definitely in my bottom half of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapters, though. I just feel like there's been better chapters out there. That's just the best way I can put it. I did like the Boruto scene where we had him interact with the police. I do feel like that was a good addition, especially since he's wanted, and that was just like a cool way to incorporate Boruto in this month's chapter, even though that was like, I think, 3 to 4 pages overall, but not bad. We also got to see Sarada and Delta for a little bit, so that was cool too. But most of the focus was definitely more so on that interrogation side of things. So that's pretty much what we got. I'm going to give this chapter a 7.5 out of 10. If you guys want to let me know too what you guys thought of this chapter, definitely let me know in the comments below. But that's going to be it for this one. Look forward to my review for chapter 31. But that's going to be it. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you guys are new. And as always, I hope you guys have a good day or night whenever you guys are watching this video. I'm Rewinds, and I'm out.